Hello, I'm Carrie, and welcome to episode 4 of the Sego Fibers podcast. Welcome, I'm Carrie, and I'm coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah, and this is a knitting podcast where I talk about projects I've finished, ones I'm working on, ones I'd like to be working on, and other life stuff as things come up. Keeping me company today for the podcast is my 2-month-old named Lydia, so if you hear any baby noises, that's why. So she's pseudo-awake, pseudo-asleep, so hopefully she'll go all the way to sleep and make it easier for us. So I guess let's jump right into things. I have one finished object this week, and that is the Craspedia socks by Andrea Mowry. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I did give it a Google, and now I know what that means, and I'll include a picture of what Craspedia is. It's a flower. I've always heard them as something like billy balls or billy buttons, things like that. They're a really cute yellow flower. And when I saw the picture Andrea Mowry chose for her pattern, like it makes a lot of sense because it's a nice yellow color that goes well with the flower. And the little baubles here in the middle totally make me think of those Craspedia. Yeah, so this pattern is from the 52 Weeks of Socks book. So there's a lot of patterns in here that I like, so they'll probably be popping up quite a bit. And so, since last week, this is where I ended up. I had knit that much last time, or not last week, 2 weeks ago. And so I finished this one, and I finished the second one. So here's both. Just see a close-up of the pattern. It's really nice. One of my favorite parts is actually the cuff. It has 3 things going on. So there's the back, and then coming around to the front. I think it's really cool how this part continues up. Anyway, I haven't done a cuff like that before and I really like it. And then it has these baubles going on, cables on the sides, plain back. I'm not sure what kind of heel this is. Maybe it's a fleegle heel. I've never done one before, so I don't know its name, but it's pretty cool. And then, yep, typical toe. I'll insert some footage as well of them on so they look better. I don't have sock blockers yet. I love the color. It feels a bit self-serving to say that, but I really do like it. I dyed this yarn myself. It's my Sego Fibers label. Beorn fingering, which is 50% recycled non-superwash wool, and 50% tencel, which is a plant fiber. So it's like a perfect spring, fall type fiber. It's really a delight to knit with, and I liked it before this pair of socks, and I've knit with it before, but as I was getting to the end of it, it was just like, I really like this yarn and I would like to make a lot more stuff out of it. Let's see, here is it caked up. This is the Cherry Blossom colorway. It's a cooler pink. I've done a fair amount of warm pinks, and I wanted to see if I could make a cooler one, and I'm really happy with it. And the tencel is really interesting. It gives it quite a bit of shimmer or luster. It's not sparkle like you would get with stellina or something. It's not that stark, it's a lot more subtle, which I like. And it's more even because it's all the way through the yarn. Oh, there's a delivery van outside and it almost hit my neighbor's mailbox. It's okay. Hey, so I forgot to mention a couple of things when I recorded earlier and talked about the Craspedia socks. So the first one has to do with decreases as part of the heel. The pattern has you do purl 2-togethers, and that's what they end up looking like on that part of the gusset or heel turn. And on the other side, the decreases are knit 2-togethers, and they end up looking like that. And I thought, okay, but that doesn't really look symmetrical. Like this one has more of a prominent line, and this one, the stitches look more like they're flowing over a gap. And so I thought, well, what if for the second sock I do slip-slip knits instead of knit 2-togethers? And here's the purl 2-togethers, and here's the slip-slip knits. And they look symmetrical. I like that. So that was a happy change. So I like the SSKs better than the knit 2-togethers, at least for the symmetrical look. And then the other thing had to do with when to start the gusset. I've learned through hard experience that if I purely rely on going by what the pattern says for when to start the gusset, I'm probably going to have to redo it because my row gauge is different than whoever wrote the pattern. And so that's been unfortunate. But and these are for like toe-up socks. And so the last couple times I've done toe-up socks, I've started paying a lot more attention to my row gauge, and so I'll read the pattern pretty carefully and try and figure out, do whatever math to see how many rows it takes to do whatever gusset and heel turn that the pattern calls for. And so instead of listening when they say knit the foot until you're whatever inches away from the back of the heel, I'll look at the pattern and say, okay, based on their increases and whatever, the number of rows I need to the back of the heel is this. And so then I'll take the foot of my sock and I'll count that many rows, and I'll get my tape measure and I'll measure how long that actually is, and I'll knit until that measurement. And then, like, so far that's worked every single time. So that's been really handy and has saved me from having to redo multiple gussets and heel turns, which is really nice and sure takes some of the frustrations out. So hopefully that's helpful if you've run into the same problem. Yeah, like rarely is my row gauge the same as whoever designed a pattern. I think actually with this one I was only 1 or 2 rows off, which is probably the closest I've come. So even if I did just follow the pattern, I probably would have been fine, but I've been burned pretty bad in the past with that, so this is definitely my new go-to method for figuring out when to start the gusset. So yeah, that's all. Back to the regular podcast. So yeah, that's the Craspedia socks. And then the other work in progress that I've been working on and off is a pair of mittens I'm pseudo-designing based on mittens based on a sock pattern. And I haven't made any progress on those. I've maybe done 1 or 2 rows, something like that. I really haven't focused on it. The last 2 weeks I've really been focusing on getting these done. Typically I'm more of a monogamous knitter, but I didn't think that would be very interesting for a podcast. And so I cast on like 3 things to have something to talk about. But then when it actually came to what I wanted to knit on, it just feels a lot more natural for me to like pick something and stick with it until it's done. I like finishing things. So that's why I finished these. And so I'm trying to figure out the right balance to like keep things fun and interesting. But so yeah, haven't made any progress on the mittens. Hopefully, well, there's no timetable. I'll finish it when I finish it. And then for my next work in progress, this one sat definitely in its project bag while I was working on the Craspedia socks. But after I finished the socks, I was ready for a more mindless type project where I didn't have to think or create a pattern or like challenge my brain with figuring out something. So I decided to pick back up the Lynn tee by Irene Rasch, and it's a linen t-shirt basically. I've talked about the yarn in previous episodes, so I'll just put the information for them here. But this is how it's looking so far. So it's all kinds of crazy at the moment. Here's a close-up of the colors. Can't see what I'm seeing. Okay. All right. So we have, I think that's Potent Berry, Pure White. This one's an unknown because I don't have the band. And this one is Pale Blush. And yeah, so you cast on, this is a free pattern by the way, so we can talk about it. So you cast on here for the sleeve. It's knit sideways, flat. And so it'll just have like a rolled hem. And so you do a whole bunch in this one color, and then you start alternating your colors and increasing along the side of the sleeve. And then once you get to this point, you cast on stitches for the back and cast on stitches for the front. And then you have a whole bunch of stitches on your needle. And then it's just a whole bunch of knitting back and forth until you get to the collar. And then I think, I haven't gotten there yet, so I haven't read the pattern too closely. Then I think you work just the front for a phase, then just the back for a phase, and then you combine them. I think that's how it goes. But yeah, so I'll show you where I left off from last time. So I have another stitch marker, interesting. So last time I had done this much. So basically the sleeve and let's follow that stripe. Okay, so basically the sleeve and then this much of the front and back. And so this is new. And considering there's between 200 and 300 stitches on here right now, it's like, whew, that feels like a lot. I'm used to socks and lots of circular knitting where there's hardly any purling, and you can see really quick progress as far as inches growing, and so this feels like a totally different kind of knitting, which is fine. I'm getting used to it. It just feels like each row feels like an accomplishment. But I like that it's the same thing over and over. It's just stockinette. Yeah, so this is sport weight yarn, and I'm using, what are these, 3.25 millimeter needles. I think that's a US 3. Let's double check. Yep, US 3. And I started out using clover bamboo needles. I had heard that bamboo is really good for linen, and I have an interchangeable set, so I figured, perfect, let's use it. And so here's what it looks like inside. I really like the needles. They're quite nice. I'm pleased with the feel of them, though I must say I probably prefer them with wool. when I was using them with the linen, they weren't sliding smoothly, and I think that was the point, but maybe I tend to be a tighter knitter, and so I just kept having to like shove the stitches onto the needle and then knit, shove more stitches on, then knit, and the points are actually rather pointy, and so I kept like hurting my fingers as I was in the process. So I was like, this would be a lot easier with smoother needles, aka metal. But I've just bought 2 new pairs of needles recently, and I'm like, I don't want to buy more needles. This is like a needle spree. It's like, let's just figure out what we have. And then I remembered, oh my goodness, a year or 2 ago, I bought 3.25 millimeter metal needles by accident, and I never used them. And so I found them in my stash. I brought them out, and so they're finally getting their time to shine. These are Chalgu. Yeah, probably can't see it, but the Chalgu with the red, and I love it. It's so much better. They slide really nicely. They feel very smooth, and I'm knitting a lot faster with them, and I'm not hurting myself, which is all winning. That sounded really lame. Those are all wins. There we go. Let me see. But yeah, I'm happy with it. I noticed when I was purling for a while, I think I'd been knitting maybe for 2 hours, which is somewhat unusual. I don't usually get that much of a chance, that long of a stretch to knit, but maybe between 2 and 3 hours, which was really nice. But by that point, my hands were starting to hurt with the purling. And so I started Googling like, what are some other ways to purl? And I didn't really find a good alternative yet. I knit continental, and so basically like I try and minimize all of my movements. And so it's like, why knit with these big motions when I can just knit with very small movements? And that kind of thing is kind of how I've thought. And so I've minimized things as much as I can. And so I kind of think whatever I try next would be a bigger movement. But if I want to give my hands a break, that's actually probably not a bad thing. Just to give a different motion, use different muscles. And even if it takes a little longer, that's okay, as long as it feels better. So I might actually try practicing with some different purling techniques. So like Norwegian purling, which has like a lot of movement, or something else. Maybe I'll get really crazy and try English. I'll probably just drop all the yarn. We'll see. But yeah, maybe I'll include a clip of how I knit, just in case anybody's curious. yeah, I'm enjoying this. It's nice to have just something simple to knit, and it's perfect for watching TV or other podcasts or that kind of thing. I'm enjoying it a lot. One question I have about the pattern. It says to knit like I'm doing for, I think, 13 centimeters from the cast on, but it doesn't specify which cast on. Is it the very first cast on at the sleeve, or is it the cast on for the body? How wide should it be? I don't know. So I think my plan is to make it 13 centimeters from the sleeve, hold it up to me, and kind of see if that looks ridiculous or if it looks right. And then I'll just continue accordingly. We'll see. If any of you have knit this, please let me know which way is correct. That's it for works in progress. I haven't worked on that many things, but I feel like I've done a fair bit of knitting on 2 things. So I'm definitely feeling the pink. I think that goes pretty well. That would look nice together. I'm such a sucker for pink. It's hilarious. Okay. So next I will get into some acquisitions. This was a really fun order. So a while back I showed a book that my sister-in-law had given me called what is it? It's a Latvian mitten book. I'll put a picture up so you can see what I'm talking about. I couldn't find it to show you here. But I did some research I read the book. And so it recommended using 1.5 millimeter needles and 2-ply yarn. I don't remember if they said a specific brand or were particular about a type. I'm sure they wanted like non-superwash, warm, traditional / rustic type yarn. And so I was looking around for a yarn that would kind of meet what they were talking about and came across Jamieson and Smith. And I've seen it before in a yarn store at Fancy Tiger Crafts actually. And there's so many colors. It's so cool. It's not the softest yarn in the world, but from what I've read, it softens with washing, and people make sweaters and stuff out of it all the time. So I figure, and these are mittens, so I'm not worried about that at all. But a cool thing about it is that it's woolen spun. It's the 2-ply that the book recommended, and it comes in 25 gram skeins, and that goes along with what the book recommends for each individual mitten pattern, because you use multiple colors, so you don't need a ton, which is really nice. So after scouring the internet for different things, I was trying to find the cheapest place that I could order it from. I don't think I can find it locally at the yarn stores near me, so I'm using the internet. And I found this one website that I was really impressed with. It's based in the UK. I think it's called Fine Fettle. I'll put the information down here. So I was so excited to see that, and they had all sorts of needles at awesome prices, and the yarn and the needles were great prices. So I was gonna go real happy and get a whole bunch of things. But when it came time to check out, the shipping was so expensive. It was more than I thought it would be. And so that was a bit of a bummer, kind of used up all the savings that I would have had. But if you're in the UK or the shipping to wherever you are is not that expensive, this could be a great option for you. So where I went instead was Wool Warehouse, and I've ordered from them before and had a really good experience. And so I was happy to order from them. And so here's the package they sent. Isn't it pretty? Lydia's stretching. Okay, we'll see how that goes. Okay, I think she's good. But yeah, I like the organza bags they come in. I find them really useful for storing yarn in, just normally in projects and things. So I definitely get good use out of that. But for needles, here's the kind I ordered. They are 1.5. Oh, I'm going to hold them up next to some other needles so you can see just how tiny they are. Just a second. All right, I'm back. All right, so, oh wait, where'd I put the needles? Ah. Okay, so these new ones are Knit Pro Karbonz. I assume that's how you say it. They're carbon fiber with brass tips. And I've heard lots of podcasters talking about these and liking them. And so I figured I'll give them a try. I'm really not a DPN user. I prefer Magic Loop, but the mitten book was pretty adamant about using DPNs. They're like, don't even try Magic Loop. And so I was like, well, I don't have Magic Loop needles in this size anyway, so I'm gonna have to get needles regardless, so might as well get the DPNs. And they recommended the 8-inch long kind, so got the ones. And they are so small. I actually haven't opened them yet. Let's see. There's that. Oh, wow. Okay. It feels like angel hair spaghetti. They're somewhat flexible. Okay, and for comparison, wait, is that correct? Yeah, okay. So here's the 1.5, here's a 2.25, which I normally use for socks, and here's a 2.5, which I sometimes use for socks, depending on the yarn. And so let's hold them up. Wow. Okay. I don't know. Does that look really different? It looks different to me. Wow. I mean, look at the difference between the 2.5. Okay. I have never knit with anything that small. I didn't even know they made needles that size. So, let's see. That's going to be interesting. They feel nice though. I'm looking forward to trying it. That's really funny. I wonder what else they're good for. Anyway, here are the mittens that I've made no progress on. Anyway, so those are the needles. Now for the yarn. Oh, I love the colors. So I got enough for 3 pairs of mittens, and there will most likely be leftovers because I probably won't be using like all of the color work accent colors. The first one, the first pair is this Jamieson and Smith. This is a 50-gram ball, and it is that the colorway? I think it's colorway 2006, and it is Shetland Supreme Jumper Weight, 100% real Shetland wool, dye-free, 50 grams, with 172 meters or 188 yards. Yeah, made in the UK. That's really cool. Anyway, here's a close-up of the color. By the way, Wool Warehouse, basically, and even like Jamieson and Smith's website for their colorways, all the photography is really bad. And so it's really hard to tell what color you're getting when you're ordering. Since I already knew Fancy Tiger Crafts had the yarn, I went to their website to see if their pictures were any better, and they are so much better. So if you're going to order Jamieson and Smith yarn, I highly recommend going to their website just to see what the colors actually look like. Yeah, they have excellent photography. And they also have really fun names to go with the different colors. Jamieson and Smith's website said all of their color numbers are consistent, but they leave it up to different yarn stores to come up with names if they want to. And I don't know if Fancy Tiger Crafts came up with theirs. They probably did, but they're really fun. So those are cute to check out. Anyway, but this one I think does have an actual name that's consistent, but it's not on here. So, but I'll stick it down here. Let's see. Yeah, I like that one a lot, and it's to go with this one, which is color number FC50 Mix. It's a really nice, muted, dusty pink leaning towards purple. It's kind of a purpley pink. It's tonal. Can you see the different colors inside? It's really gorgeous. And you can totally tell it's woolen spun. It's a bit fuzzy. That's probably not the best descriptor, but it's really cool. Okay, I thought those will be really nice. These two will be a more geometric looking mitten. Those will be the gift knit. And then the next one is very similar, let's be honest. And it will be with the same big one, the same little one, but adding this one. And so, yeah, you can see the size difference. That's a 50 gram, this is a 25 gram. And so the new one I'm adding to this combo is, this is the Shetland Supreme Jumper Weight, color number 2007. I love this one. When it came in the mail and I showed my husband Nathan, he really loved this color too. This was his favorite. So I'll probably make him something out of this someday. Yeah. Oh, and the info for the little guy. It's called 2-ply jumper weight. Also 100% real Shetland wool, 25 grams with 115 meters or 125 yards. So yeah, I'm really happy with this combo. This one will actually be for me. These are totally my jam. And yeah, so yeah, I'll show you the patterns I picked out for them as I actually knit them, though it won't get too boring. And the last one, this one is also a gift knit, and she really likes navy and purple, and so I'm going with these colors. So it'll be, the main color for the mittens is this dark navy. Let's see if it'll, it's so dark, it's not showing up well. Oh, there we go. Maybe? Okay. Alright. So this is color number 36. Got two of those for the body. And then for the primary accent color is FC21 Mix. And it's this dusty purple, also very muted. Oh, it's so pretty. And if you want to see kind of how it compares to the other one, these would look great together as well. Oh, I love all the tonality. They do an amazing job with color. Like there's more rosy bits and bluey purple bits, some like cream in there a little bit, and bits of brown, and even really tiny bits of more of a brighter blue. It's really pretty. And the other accent color, there's only going to be a little bit of this, and it's going to be a low contrast. Like, those aren't that different, and like that's even showing up like a higher contrast on the screen than it is in real life. But this one is color number FC56 Mix. Yeah, it's showing up a little bit more vibrant on screen. It's more muted in real life and a bit more blue than, like, it's looking pinker on the screen, but it's still looking really nice. It's a purple with bits of blue and green. Like, there's even a little bit of yellow right there, which is pretty interesting. It's kind of a surprising mix. I wouldn't have picked all these colors to go together, but it works out well. And I think that makes a pretty cool combination. Yeah, so I'm excited to get working on these. But so maybe what's it called again? So maybe I'll work on the Lynn tea for relaxing mindless knitting, work on the mittens when I'm curious to figure something out, and then work on the Latvian mittens to follow a more interesting pattern that takes brain space, but I'm not coming up with something new space. If that makes sense. We'll see what takes priority and when. Those will probably all last for a while. All right, so that's really it for the knitting content. What we have left is I'll talk about some books I've been reading and various life stuff. So let's see. Last episode I talked about going to the library with the kiddos, and that was a great experience. That I haven't been back yet, but I'll probably go next week because the library books are due. And so we'll see what we find there. But the way that I typically use the library pretty heavily over the last few years has been by downloading ebooks. So I was looking for my phone to show you, but I'm recording on my phone. I'll try and put some screenshots up so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, and maybe it'll make more sense. But there's an app called Libby that I use, and I connect my library card to it, and through it I can download ebooks or audiobooks from the library, and I use the Kindle app to read them. I think there's various apps you can use, maybe even in Libby itself. I don't know. I just happen to like the Kindle one, so I use that. And so that's what I typically use. It's a really nice way to access free books. I'm pretty spoiled that way. It's like, oh, why would I pay for a book when I can just borrow it? But anyway, no, I buy plenty of books too. But anyway, it's nice to have the instant access to the digital ones. The first one, well, the one I just finished yesterday, is called The Goblin Emperor by Katherine Addison. And it was recommended to me by one of my friends, and I really liked it. It's a fantasy book. It's set in a world where there are goblins and elves. It's not the kind of dichotomy where like one's good, one's bad. It's just different races basically. And it has interesting geography, though they don't get too much into that. It's more of a political flavored fantasy. I also have the physical book, so here's this. I feel a little bit guilty for reading the e-version and not the physical book, but when I'm nursing, I mainly read when I'm nursing, and so it's just easier because I have like my baby tracker app and my book on the same device, and so it's just easier than trying to do this one-handed and all that. Anyway, so here's the cover of it. And it says, even on the throne, you're only as good as your wits or your heart. And so, like, the main character is this, I think he's 18, and he gets thrust into this position as emperor that he never expected. And he has to figure out some murder mystery and figure out his place in this new world and that kind of thing. It's really interesting, and I feel like it uplifts good things. I mean, I like political intrigues anyway. I like that's a lot of fun. Like, I love the West Wing series. That's one of my favorite series. It's just hilarious. So I feel like if you like West Wing, you might like the Goblin Emperor. Definitely different feels. Like, this is fantasy with goblins and elves, so it's not the West Wing, but the fun political aspect is there. But yeah, I'd recommend it. She has another one. She calls it a standalone sequel. I haven't read it yet, but I think it's called Witness for the Dead. It's a spin-off going into a story of one of the secondary characters, so I'll probably read that one at some point in the future. One caveat for the book, though: the characters are really good and the plot is interesting, but the language is a bit cumbersome, in my opinion. She has a lot of made-up words, like whatever you call, like, you know how you say Mr. someone or Mrs. whoever. Like, she has titles, I guess. She has made-up titles that to me sound like first names, but they're not. And so it's hard for me to kind of keep all the names straight. Oh, and she changes some of normal grammar rules, and so that's a bit tricky. But if you can get past that, it's worth it. And the other book that I just started reading today is called Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. I'm a big fan of his work. I've read a lot of his books. He's actually based in Utah, I think, down in Proville, and I think he even teaches a writing class down there at one of the universities. But yeah, I really like that book. It's part of the Stormlight archive. It's set in a really unique world. I haven't come across a world like that before. It's very strange, but it's cool. Yeah, I'll probably talk more about that one some other time. As far as other life things, I've been checking out the garden a bit more. I haven't done as much actual work. I've just been observing. And so, like, these flowers here are from a big snowball verbena in our yard. It's pretty massive. It's taller than our house. I actually considered podcasting outside in front of it because I thought, like, oh, that'll be a really pretty backdrop. But in order to actually do that, I would have had to put my chair on a pile of dirt that is not very stable, and the sun would have been kind of directly beating down. So I'm like, it's probably not the most conducive to a podcast. So then I thought, second best, we'll bring some inside. I think they're really nice when they're full and blooming like this. Let's see if I can. I think they're quite pretty. I like them a lot before they start to fade, because then they just start turning brown, but it's really quite nice. Spring snow with all the petals. Let's see. The roses are growing like crazy. The more established ones have really sent stems out. Like, it seems like they've grown over a foot in the last couple weeks. I don't know if that's possible. Do they do that? They seem really tall now. And the peonies have also grown really tall. Well, maybe like 2 feet, 18 inches to 2 feet. Yeah, I planted those 3 or 4 years ago, and it's been a bit of a struggle to get them going. Last year we had our first bloom, so I'm excited for this year to see if we get more than that, that would be fun. I love peonies, but they take some patience. The blackberries are growing a lot as well. I can put some footage in here of that. Yeah, everything's just growing a lot. And then other things in the last 2 weeks. A downer has been, we all got colds, and today is actually the first day I'm feeling better. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to podcast this week, so I'm really glad I could do it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, but man, it's a weird one. It just kind of sticks around. Yeah, we all got it. We're on the tail end now. Yeah, I think the last one who still has it is little Veronica. So hopefully hers will completely go away soon. It's just a runny nose at this point. But yeah, for the last few days, everyone except for me has been kind of had really good spirits and normal energy and all that. We went to a park. A friend of ours was part of this kind of walkathon thing, so we went there to support her, and the weather was gorgeous. I have some footage of that I'll include, and I also have footage from Mother's Day weekend. Nathan asked what I wanted to do, and I thought of, I want to go to Silver Lake, because I've been thinking about that for a while. It's up in the mountains and just gorgeous, and there's a boardwalk that goes around the lake, and it's a really easy walk. It's really beautiful. And so I thought, hey, it's spring now. This will be great. I forgot that snow in the mountains sticks around a whole lot longer than it does down here in the valley. And so we went to Trader Joe's to grab picnic food, and we drove up there, and it was beautiful. And as soon as we pulled up, we were like, the sidewalk is covered in like 2 or 3 feet of snow. So we had our picnic in the back of the van, and it was still really fun. And then we walked out onto the snow a little bit, but we didn't do too much outside because it was cold and a front was blowing in and it was pretty windy. So we got back before it started raining. But yeah, I'm looking forward to taking you up there, probably in summer when the snow is gone, and showing you footage, and just so you can see the beautiful mountains and all the stuff up there. One time we even saw a beaver. That was cool. Oh, and another time we saw pikas. They are so cute. They're like little mouse things that make cute noises and play on the rocks. They're adorable. That'll be a fun thing to look forward to. Oh, and the other big thing is tomorrow is my last day of work. That feels really crazy. I have loved my job. I do graphic design, and I've done that for about 13 years. And I've been at this place for like 6 years. They have been so good to me, letting me work part-time from home for the last 3 years, and like just kind of be home with the kids and do what I do. Now just feels like the right time to make the switch fully to mom stuff and all that, and of course yarny goodness as well. But yeah, so it's bittersweet. I'm gonna miss my coworkers, but they've made it clear that they would love to have me freelance with them from time to time as things work out, and so perhaps I'll do that. Yeah. Well, that's all I have for this episode. I'm looking forward to diving into the new yarn that arrived. I've never knit with Shetland wool before, so I'm quite excited about that. And I'm curious to try these new dpns. I remember the first time I used dpns, I felt like a wizard, like keeping all these needles alive, and it just felt like magic, so that was fun. So hopefully I'll have a similar experience again. And yeah, things to look forward to. Plan on being outside more. It's really warming up. I saw a hummingbird yesterday, so I put up the hummingbird feeder. So I'm hoping to see more of those. I put it up last year and they didn't come. I was sad. But hopefully this year they'll come here. just spending time outside, try and meet up with some friends, kind of thing. Yeah. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope it's full of rest and peace and nice tea or coffee or cookies. Lots of cookies, hopefully. I'm totally a cookie and coffee person. Let me see. Yeah. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day and happy knitting. See you next time.